with me, cop! I got a hostage! Freeze!
I'm gonna shoot her, man. Give me the gun. I'm gonna shoot her. Look, if you ever want to have kids, you give me that gun. You're crazy, man. Maybe.
Today on Rewind, a closer look. We're diving into 1996's made-for-TV Gridlock. The movie that feels like Die Hard and Die Hard with a Vengeance had a baby, and somehow David Hasselhoff ended up raising it. Is it a clever mashup, a shameless clone, or just peak mid-90s action comfort food? Join me and let's find out. We open with sweeping shots of New York City, and not just the pretty skyline stuff. No, this movie really wants you to understand one thing: traffic. Endless, miserable traffic. Flown by none other than David Hasselhoff. He's chatting with his co-pilot about how he's supposed to meet his girlfriend's parents for the first time. Again. He's already bailed 3 times because of work. And he still hasn't married her yet. A cop with commitment issues? That is such a low-hanging fruit of a trope for a cop. A car slides around the corner, with police sirens screaming in the distance. It smashes into a parked vehicle, and the perps bail into a shop. Instant hostage situation. Within minutes, the place is surrounded by cops, news vans, and random New Yorkers who just heard something explode and decided that means front row seats. We learn there are 3 robbers and 8 hostages. These guys already killed a bank clerk before ending up here, so stakes established. Enter the Hoff. The ground cops recognize the helicopter immediately, and not in a good way. Apparently he's been suspended twice this year and has a habit of doing things his own way. It's a story as old as time.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So the captain radios him to back off. The Hoff does not back off.
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
He spots an open roof hatch, tells his co-pilot I'm going in, and because this is 90s action logic, hops out while the helicopter is hovering barely above the building. It's less death-defying stunt and more mildly reckless step down, but his confidence sells it. Inside, it's pure action hero nonsense. He distracts one guy with a coin, takes him out, swings in on a rope Tarzan style to drop the second guy. He then rolls behind cover before the third guy can get a clean shot. The final robber grabs a hostage, and the Hoff taps the curtain with a stick. The guy panics and unloads his gun into the fabric. The Hoff pops up, calmly aiming at the man's family jewels. Crisis over. The captain, furious. The Hoff, demoted to traffic duty. And just like that, our die-hard baby is born. Back home, the Hoff has officially missed dinner with his girlfriend's parents, again, and that girlfriend, played by Kathy Ireland. Yes, that Kathy Ireland. This is her intro scene, and she is not happy. She's packing to leave. She tells him he's only committed to his job. And look, I know you're the Hoff and all, but buddy, you're dating an actual supermodel. Maybe land the helicopter on time for dinner once in a while. She said she's tired of coming second to the badge. He stands there looking wounded, but still stubborn. Emotional growth? Not yet. We're about 40 minutes too early for that. Back at the station, we learn something important. The Hoff's father used to be a chopper pilot too. Now he runs the traffic helicopter division, so this isn't just a job, it's a legacy. and they immediately start arguing. Dad thinks he's reckless, the Hoff thinks Dad doesn't respect him, old school discipline versus lone wolf hero energy. It escalates fast and ends the only way 90s cop movie father-son arguments can end. The Hoff leaving in a huff.
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
Cut to what looks like the most suspiciously empty warehouse in New York City. A group of guys are loading up weapons, strapping on disguises, and generally radiating, "We are definitely the villains." No context yet, just vibes. Inside a nearby car, a man hangs up a phone. The garage door rolls open and what looks like a Department of Transportation van pulls in. Very official, very municipal. The guy from the car steps out and asks if the bombs are ready, which they are. And he gives the gang a quick motivational speech that basically boils down to, if you mess this up, you're dead. Great workplace culture. We then see where the explosives are planted, bridges and tunnels leading in and out of Manhattan, and that's when it clicks. This isn't a random chaos, this is a plan. Back in the car, the gang leader slips a gun into one side of his briefcase, flips it over and pulls out an ID badge from the other side. Meanwhile, at the Federal Reserve Gold Vault, Kathy Ireland is giving a guided tour through the vault room with the gold. I'm not saying I'm a security expert, but letting tourists stroll past the nation's gold reserves feels, problematic. And then it starts. The Brooklyn Bridge explodes. The Hoff sees it from the helicopter and calls it into his dad. Boom, Manhattan Bridge. Boom, Battery Tunnel. Then the Holland Tunnel, which, yes, already had its own Stallone disaster movie.
Tunnel is sealed from both ends. Now what the hell's the way in, huh?
You got 2.5 minutes. The fans are timed logarithmically.
We're gonna drown down here, and he's all we've got!
If I'm all you've got, why don't you meet me halfway? Is that fair enough? If you bring in the heavy equipment and cause a pressure shift, the whole damn thing could implode. Get going!
Clean up the mess.
And then the Midtown Tunnel goes dark. Every way off Manhattan is either blown up or blocked. Gridlock.
He said it! He said it!
And while the city spirals into chaos, the gang calmly pulls their van over and starts Nothing says we are definitely not criminals like organized road work immediately after coordinated bombings. Kathy wraps up her tour by proudly explaining how the vault door closes at 5 and doesn't reopen until the morning, and how no one has ever broken into it, which is bold considering Hans Gruber's brother basically did that exact thing like a year earlier.
Holy Toledo! Somebody had fun.
But sure, I admire her confidence. The gang leader strolls in like he's there for maintenance inspection. Loading dock, he says. Badge scans, green light. No questions asked. Security at the Federal Reserve, everybody. At the dock, he flips open his briefcase, pulls the gun from the secret compartment, and suddenly this is no longer a facilities inspection. Guards get tied up, cameras get switched off, and when security calls to check in, he casually pretends to be one of the guards.
Everything's fine.
Everything is not fine. He lets the rest of the gang in. They storm the secondary security room, but not before one guard hits the silent alarm. And for a second you think, okay, some tension. But the gang leader isn't worried. They've got 2 minutes to reach the control room. So they hustle upstairs, shut the alarm off, rip off the disguises, and declare, we're in. Meanwhile, as she's leaving, Kathy sees one of the gang members take out the front desk guard, so now she knows. Back at the loading dock, one of the dead security guards isn't actually dead. With his last bit of strength, he pushes a button that opens the loading dock door. Why? Because the script needs a way for the Hoff to get inside later. That's why. Upstairs, Kathy ducks into hiding. She hears a goon coming, so she kicks off her heels to run quietly. You know, classic move. But she drops one. The goon finds it, calls his boss, and I cannot believe this line made into the movie, mentions that the shoe is
still warm.
Yuck. For a second you think we're about to go full Die Hard and have her running around barefoot on broken glass. But no. Next scene, stairwell, she pulls Jim's shoes out of her bag and puts them on. I think even the writer realized they were about to fly too close to the sun.
Son of a bitch. switch your toes.
Kathy pulls the fire alarm. Nothing. Disabled. Of course they are. The goon who found her still warm shoe starts firing, and she bolts up the stairwell. Honestly, they missed a golden opportunity here. This could have been a full Cinderella subplot. One shoe left behind, the goon spends the entire movie obsessively trying to find the mystery woman whose footwear he's holding. Instead, we just move on. She makes it to the roof and starts wrestling with the guy, and conveniently, the Hoff is circling overhead in his helicopter and spots the scuffle. From that height, he has no idea it's Kathy, but he radios it in anyway. The captain immediately starts yelling at him. He's supposed to be monitoring the Holland Tunnel, not rooftop MMA matches. Hoff clicks off the radio, calls him an idiot, and then lands anyway. Because, rules are more of a suggestion when you're the Hoff. Inside the control room, the gang leader is sweating behind a hacker who's racing the clock to stop the vault from sealing. 10 minutes until lockdown. The stakes are officially established. The goon radios that he's captured Kathy, which lasts all of 30 seconds. She beats him up and runs away again. And honestly, getting beat up by Kathy Ireland doesn't sound like a bad time. Meanwhile, the Hoff is creeping through the building when the same goon hears him. Another hallway shootout, bullets flying everywhere, hitting absolutely nothing. The Hoff retreats back to the roof and hides behind what is very clearly not a prop helicopter, and the goon Meg dumps into it anyway. When he finally reloads at the speed of dial-up internet, the Hoff makes a break for it, straight into a dead end. And this is the moment. He grabs a fire hose. He ties it around his waist and starts rappelling down the side of the building. The goons round the corner, grab the hose, and stops him mid-descent. The Hoff swings out, tries to crash through a window, and just sort of bounces off it. And then the goons shoot the hose. It snaps. The Hoff drops the rest of the way down into a perfectly placed pile of trash bags. And what do you know? He lands right beside that conveniently opened loading dock door. Back on the roof, the goon calmly returns to the helicopter and shoots out the instrument panel. Because apparently, if he can't have air support, nobody can. Inside the loading dock, the Hoff finds the not quite dead guard who opened the door, now fully dead. He grabs the guy's pepper spray and ID badge and heads inside. Upstairs, the hacker finally cracks the vault code just as the massive door is starting to seal. The gang rushes in, timing dramatic. The roof goon makes it back to the control room and tells the leader about Kathy and the Hoff. The leader is not thrilled. And they spot the Hoff in the security monitors and, once again, send more henchmen after him. Another guy is ordered to close the loading dock, which he does, and then shoots out the control panel for good measure. The leader calls someone in the neighboring tower. He's furious, demanding to know whether the Hoff has radioed anyone. The guy says he'll check. So now we've got a mole in a nearby building? Sure, why not add another layer? Back inside, the Hoff makes it to a control room using the stolen keycard. The goons open fire, but the windows are bulletproof. And I'll give the movie this. The sound design is actually kind of cool.
Love this glass.
You hear the bullets hammering the glass, but nothing cracks. The goons shoot out the card locks and push into the money room. The Hoff ambushes one of them with a bag of cash to the face. The other starts firing, pinning him down, until he slips on loose coins and wipes out like he's in a cartoon. The Hoff then rams him with a handcart, slams him onto a giant scale, and proceeds to dump bags of coins on top of him that somehow knock him unconscious. Physics? Questionable. Commitment? Admirable. He grabs the guy's gun and runs, and once again, the leader spots him on a camera, and once again, sends someone after him.
Okay, here. Okay, let's see, what if I did this?
Inside the dark, empty cafeteria, the Hoff's creeping through when someone tackles him. It's Kathy. Of course it is. They have about 30 seconds to catch up before a goon bursts in and starts spraying bullets. The Hoff can't return fire because Kathy kicked his gun away earlier, so they grab frying pans. They wait for the guy to come close and knock him out together. Over at traffic control, officials are declaring the explosions a terrorist attack and estimating it'll take days to clear Manhattan. A fake terror attack to rob the Federal Reserve gold vault? Where have we heard that before?
Holy Toledo! Somebody had fun.
I've got to give it to him though. I've never seen a Die Hard clone mash together Die Hard and Die Hard with a Vengeance in one movie. At this rate, all we're missing is an airport. Back inside, the Hoff and Kathy hit a stairwell, only to find goons waiting one floor down. They fire upward, wildly, inaccurately, forcing our duo to retreat up instead of down. The gang leader hears this and decides he's done relying on incompetent henchmen. He's going to handle it himself. Up on the roof, the Hoff and Kathy sprint towards the helicopter, discover it's toast, and run towards that exact same dead-end corner where the Hoff fire-hosed himself earlier. The leader and his goons creep around the corner. Dead end. No Hoff, no Kathy. Because somehow, they're dangling underneath the window washing platform several stories down. How they got there in that amount of time? Don't ask questions. The goons lean over, see them dangling, and open fire. But the platform blocks the shots. So instead, they just shoot the crane's fuse panel. All it takes is one fuse and the entire platform drops. And people say the 90s were a safer time. As the platform collapses, the Hoff shoots out a window mid-fall, and the two of them crash safely back inside the building. Just another day at the Federal Reserve. Meanwhile, over at traffic control, they realize the Hoff and his helicopter have completely vanished, which feels like something you'd notice immediately. A whole police chopper just missing? They quietly start trying to track him down without telling the captain, because at this point, even they know that guy's got it out for the Hoff. Hoff Sr. calls the former co-pilot and asks for help. The guy's understandably hesitant. The Hoff is basically a walking suspension notice, and he already almost lost his job helping during the hostage situation. But after a little guilt and family loyalty, he agrees to keep an eye out for the helicopter. Inside the tower, Hoff tries to lead Kathy back towards the loading dock exit, the same way he came in. Minor issue, it's sealed shut now. This is when Kathy finally explodes. She goes off about how this is her building, her territory, she knows the layout better than he does, and he never asks for help. He just assumes he's the hero in every room, and of course, he doesn't admit she's right. Pent-up resentment? Activated. Eventually, though, he steps aside and lets her lead. Is that growth? From the Hoff? In this economy? As they move through the building, they shoot out security cameras to blind the gang. The leader sees the feeds cutting out and absolutely cannot believe they're still alive. So naturally, he grabs another goon and goes after them personally. Again. At the loading dock, they discover the exit is sealed and the switch panel destroyed. No easy way out. So they duck into an office and flip through security monitors. They finally see the full scope of the heist, gold being moved and the cash that was supposed to be destroyed getting rerouted and scrubbed from the system. And for no practical reason whatsoever, Hoff smashes the monitors. Why? No clue. Felt dramatic, I guess. They head back out and try to use a radio in one of the trucks. Hoff starts calling for help, and the gang leader casually shoots out the radio. He points his gun at the Hoff, but instead of pulling the trigger, the leader launches into a monologue about how hard the Hoff is to kill, because villains in these movies simply cannot resist explaining things.
You made the classic movie mistake. Don't explain so much. You had to get in those last few words. I mean, if you had just fired, you would have won.
He radios upstairs the loading dock is secure, and while he's talking, the Hoff starts chatting to one of the goons behind Kathy, distracting him just long enough for Kathy to hit him with the pepper spray. And the leader flinches, Hoff lunges, quick takedown. But somehow, through pure movie physics, the leader ends up with Hoff in a chokehold. Kathy dives for a dropped gun, and before she can shoot, another goon grabs her. The Hoff breaks free, clocks the goon, and the two of them sprint back into the building while the leader unloads an entire magazine at them. Hits nothing, obviously. And at this point I have to ask, why does this guy care so much about these two? You've already got the gold, you've scrubbed the money, just let them leave, finish the job, get out. Like, Hans Gruber's brother did this in like 10 minutes.
$140 billion.
This guy's running a 3-hour cardio routine through the Federal Reserve because he's personally offended that the Hoff exists. Like, priorities, buddy. Back at the traffic control, the captain finds out that Hoff Sr. has been quietly asking people to locate his son. So what does he do? He fires him. Just like that. At this point, I'm convinced this captain has a personal vendetta against the Hoff family. Like, what did he do to this guy? Did Hoff Sr. sleep with his wife or something?
Pardon me?
In the cafeteria again, the Hoff and Kathy argue about what the next move is. The Hoff wants to get the hostages, and Kathy says all the exits are locked anyway. So, they go to unlock the building, but not before Kathy gives the Hoff more attitude about not asking for help. Like, geez, not now, lady. If this is how you act during an event like this, wow, the home life must be something else. Why is the Hoff even with you? Elsewhere, two goons get into an elevator with some kind of device that measures elevation. Sure, why not? When they reach a specific height, they stop the elevator, pry open the door, mark an X on the brick wall, and start drilling. Why are we waiting until now to do this? Isn't the point of a heist to be quick? Like in and out, not in and putz around for a couple hours then slowly leave. Anyway, back at traffic control, the newly fired Hoff Sr. is in the restroom talking to another officer. The guy tells him it seems personal what the captain is doing to the Hoffs. And Hoff Sr. starts to tell the officer why the captain doesn't like him. And no way, was I right? Did he really sleep with the captain's wife? Hoff Sr. then starts telling the officer about the incident.
12 years ago, I had to make a decision. Stay with my wounded partner or go for help. I made the wrong decision. After I left, two perps found him, finished him off. And most of the guys thought I ran to save my own skin.
Oh boy, was I off on that one. Finally, someone notices the Hoff's helicopter is sitting on top of the Federal Reserve building. Hoff Sr. rushes to the captain and tells him something is clearly wrong at the Fed. The captain shrugs and says Hoff's girlfriend works there, so obviously he's just there because of her, and he refuses to investigate, and then throws Hoff Sr. out. The incompetence in this command structure is staggering. Inside the building, Hoff and Kathy make it to the now empty control room, and we finally see the full plan. They're not just stealing gold, they're taking cash that was scheduled for destruction and deleting all the serial numbers from the database, same with the gold tracking records so it can't be traced. Okay, that's actually kind of clever. Kathy realizes someone inside the reserve would need access codes to pull this off. There's clearly a mole. Just then, on the screen in front of them, a wire transfer begins. Kathy just denies it. That was shockingly easy. Hoff asks her how to unlock the building, and she says she doesn't know, so they argue again. And in a moment of pure frustration, Hoff breaks a chair and smashes a computer screen. How does that lock anything? It doesn't. It triggers every alarm in the building. All the gang members run towards the control room, and of course, Hoff and Kathy are already gone. Peter loses it, says they're blind now, and we also learned the guy manning the security feed had left to use the bathroom, and to make it worse, Hoff and Kathy stole his radio. The Hoff tries calling for help on the radio, but it's a secure channel. The guy in the tower next door radios back and casually calls Hoff by name, and mentions that he can see his helicopter on the roof, which is him basically announcing, by the way, I'm not in the building. Hoff immediately pieces it together. This guy has a visual on them from the other tower. For a second, Hoff and Kathy actually share a tender moment. With the cameras down, they could hide out, or they could actively sabotage the gang using her knowledge of the building. And finally, he acknowledges that she knows the layout better than he does. She lights up. This is the validation she's been waiting for all movie. Now it's her turn to lead. Inside the elevator shaft, the goons are still drilling into the brick wall, and for some reason they're drilling next to the X instead of on top of it. Precision craftsmanship. Upstairs, Hoff and Kathy decide to steal a cart of cash. Their plan is basically sprint past armed criminals and hit the elevator button. I admire the confidence. The tower mole radios them again, gives them some vague instructions, and suddenly the elevator stops and starts going back down. They hear movement above, and the Hoff positions himself under the hatch. A gun comes through, Hoff grabs it, and the goon fires wildly. Hoff yanks him down, Kathy clocks him with the weapon, and he's out. Then, for reasons that do not need to be explained, they climb down the elevator cables. How did they get there? Does it matter? Not really. They reach the bottom, but not before being spotted and shot at. And once again, every single bullet misses. But what's this? I spoke too soon? Shockingly, the Hoff gets hit.
Jake, you've been hit.
They duck into a room to regroup. The goons burst in, and suddenly shredded paper explodes everywhere, flying through the air like a budget snowstorm. The distraction works, and they beat up the goons and escape again. How did they rig a paper shredder to become a confetti cannon? No idea. But at this point, that's the least unrealistic thing that's happening in this building. And then, in a completely throwaway scene, Hoff Sr. calls traffic control to get a number from his Rolodex, and he calls that number to ask for a helicopter ride across town. The guy says no. Hoff Sr. says, "Guess I'm walking." That's it. No payoff, no consequences, no setup, nothing. Back inside the federal building, Hoff is tending to the burns on his hands from grabbing a red-hot gun barrel earlier. Finally, a little realism. Then he and Kathy make up and make out in the middle of an active heist. Cut to, wait, are they making food? At a time like this? Kathy goes to grab something to eat and immediately gets caught by a goon. Another one opens fire at the Hoff, and he ducks behind cover, grabs a frying pan, tosses it as a distraction, and it works. Again, he shoots the goon. I mean, how many times can you fall for the random object toss trick? These henchmen might be the least observant criminals in all of New York. Now alone and furious, the Hoff calls the leader and demands to know where Kathy is. The leader tells him she's in the basement with the hostages, and there's a bomb set to go off in 5 minutes. So Hoff takes off down the stairwell. And this is when we finally see what all the elevator drilling was for. They're planting explosives in the wall. In the basement, Hoff finds the hostages locked behind bulletproof glass in the gym. Because of course the gym needs bulletproof glass. Why wouldn't it? He tries shooting it, nothing. So he runs back upstairs, finds the keys in the control room, sprints back, unlocks the door, and the hostages escape just as the explosion in the elevator goes off. The leader was lying. There was never a bomb in the hostage room. Classic misdirection. Hoff calls the leader again and is told they're taking Kathy as insurance. Now we're in full pursuit mode. Hoff finds the stopped elevator and climbs up the shaft. Inside, he discovers the hole leading to the subway. We've now officially entered Die Hard 3 territory. Subway escape route, gold heist, Manhattan chaos. As the Hoff creeps through the tunnel, he finds an emergency call box and somehow patches into traffic control. Sure, why not? He tries telling the captain about the heist, but before anything useful happens, he's spotted and the gang opens fire. The leader tells his men to stand down.
This one's mine!
He starts yelling into the darkness, monologuing like a proper villain, and while he's doing that, the Hoff just sneaks up behind him and disarms him. But then, because this movie loves this move, a subway train bells, and the Hoff gets distracted, and the leader knocks the gun away. That's gotta be the 5th or 6th time someone has been distracted and disarmed in this movie. They start fighting on the tracks as the train barrels towards them, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. This guy's about to get absolutely obliterated. But no, Hoff pulls him out of the way. Why? Because he's the hero. How is he rewarded? A knee to the gut. The leader runs and suddenly the mole from the other building appears and shoots the leader dead. Just like that. Meanwhile, the gold is being loaded into a truck and Kathy is in the back. The mole is riding along with her. Now here's where it gets confusing. They blew up every bridge and tunnel into Manhattan. The whole premise is Gridlock. It's literally the title of the movie. So how are they casually driving a truck full of gold through open streets? There's barely any traffic. Did the Gridlock take the night off? Ugh, whatever. Hoff wakes up and runs to the street level, and conveniently, Hoff Sr. is standing there, waiting. He asks his dad if he's seen a truck, and of course he has. He tells him that they're heading north in Manhattan traffic after a citywide infrastructure bombing. Impressive observation skills. Back in the truck, Kathy is sitting next to the mole from the neighboring tower. For reasons known only to her, she decides this is the perfect moment to tell him she knows exactly who he is. Full name, position, everything. Brilliant move. Why not just lean in and say, "Would you like to shoot me now or later?" Meanwhile, off screen, the two Hoffs manage to get their hands on Hoff's senior friend, the helicopter. So I guess that earlier "guess I'm walking" scene wasn't completely useless after all. They take to the skies and quickly spot the truck carrying the gold, and it's just driving, normally, on a road, with almost no traffic. Which again raises the question, what was the point of blowing up every bridge and tunnel into Manhattan? Like, the cops weren't even responding to the reserve in the first place. And if your plan is to drive the gold out of the city, why create the gridlock? But sure, whatever, we've come this far. They hover over the truck and the driver immediately starts shooting at the helicopter. Guess this guy hasn't ever heard of acting natural. Chopper pulls back, Hoff opens the door, clips onto a cable, and lowers himself down like he's auditioning for Mission Impossible. He lands on the roof of the moving truck, unhooks himself, and attaches the cable to a conveniently placed lift point on top of the cargo box. Even the pilot hesitates. There is no way this helicopter can lift a truck full of gold. He's told to try anyway, and he pulls up. Instead of lifting the truck, the entire cargo box just rips clean off the chassis, turning it into a flatbed. With the box gone, Hoff has a clear path to the bad guy and beats him up with minimal effort, and they force the driver to pull over. Kathy then tells the Hoff to hit the redial on the mole's phone, and the captain's phone rings. The cops arrive, the captain shows up, smug as ever, and says he'll take the goons in personally. Hoff responds by punching him, and then arresting him, because of course he does. And just like that, the inside man is exposed, the gold is recovered, the crisis is over. Hoff turns to Kathy and asks if she's coming home. She says only if he admits he needs her. He hesitates, then reluctantly agrees. Big kiss. Roll credits. Now, this movie is both fantastic and terrible at the exact same time. It's like Schrodinger's action film. If Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 3 didn't exist, this might actually feel a bit fresh, but because they do, this just feels like their slightly confused cousin. The plot is way more complicated than it needs to be. The entire blow up Manhattan and cause gridlock premise ends up meaning absolutely nothing. The roads are empty during the escape, and the bombs don't meaningfully affect the heist. It's just spectacle for the sake of spectacle. The villains aren't especially threatening. Both main bad guys go down pretty easily, and whatever happened to Hoff getting shot, like that happens, and then it just kind of doesn't. But here's the thing, if you switch your brain off, it's not terrible. Some of the stunts are solid, the helicopter stuff is fun, the energy is there, it just never fully commits to being great or gloriously bad. It's just kinda meh, and yet I didn't hate watching it. Maybe that's the Hoff effect, or maybe it's Kathy Ireland. Because let's be honest, that helps a lot. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Hoff-powered Die Hard chaos, make sure you hit that like button and drop a comment below and let me know, is this a legit action flick? And be honest, did the gridlock part actually matter? So if you're into cult movies, forgotten 90s thrillers, thrift store finds, and rewinding films most people forgot even existed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey.
Hold it, guys. You realize that if you shoot at us and miss, you'll hit each other. Shoot! Ah!